you, son. I had to dress up today because I was looking at some of the guys and thinking about James Hansen. I got to look better than him, and Jackson puts a sweater with a bow tie on, so I decided to put the suit on. This is a big day. It's an exciting day. It's kind of like that rite of passage. This is the time that you say goodbye to middle school forever. Isn't that exciting? Like when you walk out of here, you're going to be in high school. You're going to be in that new place. And so you're not going to be known as the class of 2013. That's what today is. You're really the class of 2017. And you guys are going to begin to create that legacy starting after the ceremony today. And I want to share this verse with you. It's in the book of Proverbs, chapter 20. And it's verse 29. Here's what the Bible says. The glory of a young man is his strength, and gray hair is the splendor of the old. And you're like, why are you sharing this with me? Listen again. The glory of a young man, the glory of a young woman is their strength, their vigor, their energy, their creativity. And the gray hair is the splendor of the old. So I want you to look around and find your parents or grandparents. Just make eye contact. You might see gray. You might see hair that's gone. You might see hair that's colored, although you won't tell anyone their secret. But here's the idea. Here's what the Bible is saying. Solomon is saying, you know, when you're young, the stage of life you're at, you have so much energy. More energy than you may have for the rest of your life. You have ideas, idealism, you have zeal, you have all of these things. Don't waste that glory. That's the word that Solomon uses. It's glory to have all that you have right now. And the splendor of the old is to guide you in the use of that. Now, I want to say that when we talk about this kind of idea of a rite of passage, outside of the United States of America, there are very clear lines when a child actually becomes an adult. I mean, if you go to this tribe in New Guinea, they take a young boy at 12 years old, and for 6 months, he has to leave the village and make it on his own, survive. This is not just a 6-month camping trip. This is a chance for him to be able to survive by his wits and find, can I really be a man? Think about what would happen if your parents kicked you out at 12 years old and said, live 6 months in the wilderness. If you come back alive, you're a man. In the Amazon, these tribes, they had this ritual with these ceremonial gloves. They put a young boy's hands in these gloves with these bullet ants. A bullet ant sting is 30 times more painful than a wasp sting. And if a boy can keep those gloves on and not take them off, he's being stung repeatedly by these bullet ants, he comes out to be a man. If you've grown up in a Jewish family, you know that at 13 there's this thing called the bar mitzvah. For a boy, a bat mitzvah for a girl. And that literally means now this child has become a son of the commandments, someone who's accountable under the law to God. That when you become 13 as a Jewish young boy or young girl, you're now accountable to God. You're now an adult. Now, why do I say all this? Because in this country, we don't really necessarily have a rite of passage. And so we've actually come by this term, and I want to share this term with you. It's this term, teenager. You're a teenager. You know how old this term is? It's only 70 years old. Through 6,000 years of history, you went from becoming a child to becoming an adult until in 1941 they decided we need some kind of transition period. Maybe we'll make it a few years. 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. And then we figured out that this adolescence, it kind of lasted like a lot longer. Because the idea is, well, if you're a teenager, what are you going to do this summer? Well, sleep in, play video games, hang out with your friends, maybe go on vacation, maybe just do a little bit of nothing. Because, face it, you're young. I mean, you got your whole life ahead of you. You got your whole life to actually dig in to do the things that maybe God has for you. Maybe you can do all those things later. And I want to show you a picture. This is a picture of what you do if you're in track. You set a bar at a certain height. Whether it's a hurdle or a high jump or the pole vault, you set this bar. And here's what I want to say to you. In our world, the bar has been set for the American teenager right here. Here's where the bar is. And we say, now if you guys can keep your room clean, and you can take a good telephone message, and stay awake in church, and just do a few things like that, then you'll be fine because you have your whole life to excel at the thing that God has created you to do. And Solomon would say, what? Wait a second. The glory of a young man and a young woman is their strength, their vigor, their creativity, their enthusiasm. Don't waste that, because I frankly met men and women in their 20s who are still living in adolescence. The thing to think about after work is I'm going to play more video games, or I'm going to watch more TV, I'm going to do more of these things. And again, Solomon would say, don't do that, and don't do that way. So I'm going to ask you to do something that your parents and your teachers would say, I don't really like this word, but it's this word. I'm going to ask you to rebel. Okay? But I'm not going to ask you to rebel against your parents. I'm going to ask you to rebel against the low expectations that have been set for you. I'm asking you to rebel against the bar that's this high, that says nothing's really expected of you. And if you don't make the team or pass the test or develop your gift, it's no big deal. You have the rest of your life. Because that, frankly, is a lie. Romans 12:2 says, don't be conformed to the pattern of this world, but let your mind be renewed and transformed by this process of attaining. Not what does the culture say, but what does the Bible say? What does the Bible say about how great you can be at 14 years old? How great you can be for the kingdom at 16 years old? Because frankly, in a few minutes, we're going to see some great 13, 14, 15, and 16-year-olds who took this verse seriously and made God's glory great in their own lives. And that is the simple challenge. So what does Paul say to Timothy as a young person? 1 Timothy 4:12, don't let anyone look down on you because you're young, but set an example in speech, in life, in love, in faith, in purity. That's a challenge to a young person. So when someone says to you, you guys are the future church. You guys are going to do great things off in the distance. I would say, no, we're not the future church. We are the current church. We are the current church of 14 and 15 and 16-year-olds. We're the current church of high school. We're the class of 2017 in CCA, and we are going to make our mark for the glory of God and His Son, Jesus Christ. And that, again, is my charge for you. So I'm going to ask you to rebel against low expectations when people say, over the summer you can do a bunch of nothing. And I'll say it this way. I'm going to challenge you to do hard things. And so, let's think about summer. What do you have planned this summer that's hard? Something that's going to take a lot of effort and energy and thought and creativity. Something that you're going to want to quit at, but you know at the end it's worth it. And if you don't have anything lined up for the summer, then I'm going to say you're missing it already. There should be something you pray about, something you should talk to your parents and pastors and teachers about. What has God created me to do? How do I develop my gift? What can I do that's great for God? And use this energy and vigor for His kingdom and for His glory. And I'll share this one story of a young king. His name is Josiah. And Josiah, he becomes king at 8 years old. And so you're thinking, what's a king that young going to do? But in his first 10 years, through his middle school and high school years, Josiah does more as a king than almost any other king before or after him. And here's how it happened for him. 2 Chronicles 34, verse 1 says, Josiah was 8 years old when he became king. He reigned 31 years in Jerusalem. And he did what was right in the eyes of the Lord and walked in the ways of his father David. He did not turn aside to the right or the left. And in the 8th year of his reign, at 16 years old, it says, while he was still young, he began to seek the God of his father David. At 16 years old, something happened. 16-year-old Josiah said, this was the faith of my fathers, but now it's my faith. This is what I've been taught my whole life, but now it's mine. So here I go. And you start to see what he did at 16, at 18, at 20, at 22. And most of the significant events in his life, he did in those first 10 years as a teenager. And I look at someone who revolutionized and did some very hard things as a teenager, and I'm like, oh man, I wonder if there's a Josiah sitting here. A young man or young woman that says, when I was young, I sought the Lord. And even though I was young, I didn't listen to what everyone said, that I could only become this kid who kept my room clean, did my homework, and was polite to adults. But I could become one of those young men the Bible talks about, or young women that talks about the kingdom of God is forcefully advancing, and forceful men and women lay hold of it. So I'm going to share with you a picture of the bar that you should set for yourself. It's much higher than something you can step over. It's something that's going to require a lot of effort and energy and exertion, because frankly, I talk to a lot of young people who say, I want to play professional basketball, and I ask, well, how often are you practicing? Can you dribble with your right hand or left hand? Can you do it with your eyes closed? Oh, no, but I'm great at Xbox. I mean, I'm kicking. I want to become a professor. I want to discover something, but I got a D in chemistry because I don't like to study. I want to become a great husband one day, but I disrespect my parents. And what they're thinking is, when I really decide to actually do it, it's just going to happen. But what happens is you develop these habits, kind of like a laziness, a disrespect for authority. Kind of like, I don't want to hear what people say to me. I kind of want to do what I want to do. And you end up creating this habit of behavior that gets in the way of the goal that God has for you. And I'm going to share with you 3 kids who didn't let that happen to them. And the first one, his name is Jack Amdrake. Jack Amdrake was 15 years old, actually 14, when his uncle died of pancreatic cancer. And he thought, you know what, that makes me upset. Like, can't someone figure out a way for people to get a test so they can decide, what to do, so they